voice of growth, mastering the mind and market.
The city magazine role is promoting what we love about where we live. I started with nothing. Most online stuff is measured in clicks and seconds. The best way to do it is be an entrepreneur. Everybody likes to think print is dead and that it's all digital, but we've been telling each other stories as humans since we were living in caves. Gosh, where did that even come from?
A great city deserves a great city magazine. Those were your words, and it sort of led me to think about your career and how it's culminated from being basically super deep in med and media, your background in working at the university and in arts, the boards that you're on. I mean, I couldn't name them all, and there's so much you're involved with. So how did that all culminate to you being now the publisher of Tucson Lifestyle Magazine?
So, it really is sort of a natural thing. First, a city magazine, and I can even go into deeper because I hosted in 2022 here in Tucson the winter retreat for city magazine publishers from across the country. So I hosted 55 other city magazine publishers. The niche that we fill in every community is a valuable one, actually. People talk about print being dead, but city magazines specifically are having kind of a moment. And it's not rocket science. So in every city across the country, the daily newspapers aren't what they used to be.
Right.
Tucson used to have a morning newspaper and an afternoon newspaper.
That's crazy.
They used to have multiple people covering the art scene. They had a classic music reviewer. They had a rock and roll music reviewer. They had multiple people covering different beats. They had a dance critic. Now they have one person that covers everything. Visual arts, performing arts, whatever, and that's all they can afford. So the business model for daily newspapers has struggled, but people care about their communities. They care about the people. They care about the food. They care about the events. They care about the issues. And so city magazines, because of a glossy coffee table format and that usually monthly, frequency, have an opportunity to cover all of those things, not like a daily newspaper would, but almost in a more thoughtful way. And frankly, that opportunity appealed to me. When they reached out to me in 2019 about coming on board, I had retired from a 30-year career at Mad Media and was enjoying just being a part of the Tucson community, although as you referred to, I've always been a part of the Tucson community. I've been a local activist and promoter for Tucson since the mid-'80s and helping to save the Temple of Music and Art, to preserve it as a theater, and helping to get downtown revitalization going and caring about downtown before anybody else did, and actually moving our company downtown. When we did in 2009, we bought the old historic MacArthur building, and we moved our 80 or so creative class employees with an average payroll in excess of $60,000 a year back in 2009 downtown. That was a big thing for downtown.
Move, yeah.
And then TEP moved in. Then Fletcher McCusker moved Providence Services down there. And so anyways, and downtown has had somewhat of a renaissance, although, the pandemic was not kind to downtown, and it's as it was for a lot, but it's coming back and doing well. And I think not only does a great city deserve a great city magazine, a great city deserves a thriving downtown. So my career with Madden was in travel and tourism publications and marketing. We had clients in 43 states. We wanted to have clients in all 50. I traveled all the time. I saw all these other cities, whether it was Kansas City or Memphis or, I mean, Pittsburgh, you know, I saw how they revitalized themselves and recame,
Right.
and a lot was happening in downtowns. So I just think, you know, the city magazine role is promoting what we love about where we
Right.
live. And it's a great opportunity for me, as well as, you know, raising the bar. Tucson Lifestyle started in 1982, and it was primarily for the foothills crowd. But the opportunity was to broaden its readership and to deepen its ties to the community. And so we have, from the time I started really launching in 2020, which wasn't a great time to launch a lot of changes for the
Right.
magazine because the pandemic came around.
Yep.
But we started publishing stories of more substance, so to speak, just about issues in our community, and you know, whether it's water or immigration or any kind
Right.
of things. As a city magazine, we take a step back from the daily news and do more of an overview. So we've done that, and it's shown up in our reader surveys. We're audited by a third-party independent company that comes in, and not only do they audit our circulation and distribution, but they do reader surveys. And one of the questions I always ask is, how much time do you spend with the magazine per month? So in 2019, when I started, people were, you know, spending about 27 minutes a month. Then we got our audit back in August of 2022, and people were spending, you know, 38 minutes a month. And I thought, oh, this is a pandemic bump.
Right.
You know, they were stuck at home. What are they going to do? Read the magazine. Well, we just got our audit back for the past year, and 80% of our readers are spending about 45 minutes a month with the magazine.
Wow. Including myself. I love the magazine, and I love what the position it holds as both a for Tucson magazine,
Yes.
people in Tucson, but also as a bit of a map, if you will, for those that are visiting from outside of town. And the idea of having, putting in their mind the idea of what would it be like to live in Tucson.
Sure.
And being born in Tucson, having left Tucson for many years and coming back to Tucson, it was kind of nice to see that the magazine was not only still there, but was thriving.
Yeah.
And me and my family, we enjoy it. There's a whole stack over there that we peruse. And what would you say are some of the challenges that you're facing right now with respect to not only growing the magazine, but what the magazine represents?
Sure. So on the business side, there's a lot of things out of my control. Paper increases, postage increases, and actually during the pandemic, you know, I had like 10 paper price increases in 13 months. It was brutal. And then over a 2-year period, I had 4 postal increases. So that just raises the cost of doing business, on top of the fact that everybody likes to think print is dead and that it's all digital. But, you know, we've been telling each other stories as humans since we were living in caves, right? And everybody loves a good story. And most online stuff is measured in clicks and seconds.
Right.
It's hard to tell a good story. Not to say that you can't get a little video clip that does a good job at 30 seconds or so. But again, deep storytelling, and that's part of connecting with each other as a human. So in the magazine format, we can tell stories, and we like doing that.
It's actually funny you say that. One of the topics that I wanted to talk about, and you segued right into it, is would you consider yourself more a storyteller or a tour guide?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, we do publish a visitor-specific publication called Tucson Lifestyle's Insider's Guide that we tailor specifically for the visitor and their in-town stuff. I mean, one of the things locals and I used to always joke about this, is all the pictures of who was at the charity ball. But what I find out is people like seeing that stuff.
Yeah.
Visitors don't care who was at our charity ball.
Right.
So that's wasted pages in a visitor guide. So I do more stories about hiking. We do plenty of stories about food. We do all the things to do in Tucson when you're here for 3 or 4 days. And we read all the research that Visit Tucson does, and they're very good. And I want to say we are blessed that Visit Tucson is so good at what they do. And they have really recently gone through a rebranding that's based on a ton of research. They hired, and I know the company because I used to work with them out of Kansas City, that is the best in the country to do their research. And they did a deep dive over 24 months. And then they rolled out their new branding and their new positioning for Tucson, which I think is brilliant.
It is brilliant.
And I think the Chamber of Commerce, I think, businesses, I think everybody should tag on to what Visit Tucson's coming up with, because it is spot on for being authentic about how we differentiate ourselves to Austin, San Antonio, Albuquerque, San Diego, any place. I mean, we do it. So anyways, back to the City Magazine role. Yes, visitors can pick us up and get a lot out of it. Again, they won't care about who was at the charity ball, and they won't necessarily care about the publisher's letter ranting about our city council elections, but they do care about the food, and they care about the activities. They don't necessarily care about the people so much. So we do all of that. What feedback we've gotten from readers is that a number of our readers look to the magazine each month to help create their calendar of what they want to do. We get all the press releases, we get all the stuff, but we curate what we focus on in the magazine based on the fact that we know our readers are Tucson's highest net worth, most educated readers. Right. And because of that, they tend to be more discriminating, and they do want stuff curated for what would appeal to them. And so we do that in every issue as best we can.
What I love about you having taken that role, and we did our research, of course, the way you looked at the opportunity / problem that you kind of, when you stepped into that role, is brilliant. You really went back and you looked at who are the readers, who's the audience, and to a lot of people that's enough. But you went deeper than that, and you wanted to understand what were the major issues that were interesting to them, and that's when you opened it up past just the glamour houses and the lawns and garden kind of stuff. And so that's just magic. And you also said something else that I want to talk about.
Okay, so I just want to say, so we still do all the garden stuff. We still do it because, again, readers care about that.
Sure.
And I've had feedback from readers, even millennials, saying like, hey, I wait to see, the gardening tips for that month and whatever's going to come out that month. And so one of the nice things for me is we have been able to appeal to younger readers as well for not only having quality of life kind of stuff, how do you live a good life and enjoy your community to some, but taking on some of the issues in the community. So
yeah, no, that's totally true. I think there's a generational shift, if you will. There's the torch passing. I'm glad that there's still some housing momentum in Tucson. I know there a lot of other communities are really suffering with that. Yeah, we have our challenges, but I think that new homeowners that are coming into the scene, it's a perfect complement for that.
Yes.
And the thing I was going to reference earlier is you'd said that marketing is muscle, not fat. When it has to do with a business owner looking to spend money, you talked about some of the challenges during the pandemic, and how smart companies doubled down, and rather than pull back, they actually pushed in, like the Domino's Pizzas of the world, others that you referenced. So why is that statement so powerful?
So, I mean, the muscle, not fat is in any advertising somebody does, in any marketing, there's waste. So if you have a high-end watch and you're buying billboards, how many people driving by can never afford that nice watch?
Yeah.
You know, so there's how much waste are you buying? Okay, so if you're selling high-end watches, 100% of my readers can afford it. There's no waste in that.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's sort of like matching your marketing to, you know, the audience you want to reach, the customers you want to have, and how to build that. So, you know, my readers participate in the cultural life of Tucson. You know, they go to the symphony and the theater, and they go out to eat a lot, and they love our events and festivals and all that kind of stuff. So, and they support our nonprofits. We partner a lot with the nonprofits in Tucson to do stuff with them. We're working with the Blake Foundation and Easter Seals to help them, you know, acknowledge their 75-year anniversary coming up.
Wow.
We recently worked with South Point High School about their anniversary. So, I mean, and that's all part of being involved in the community and celebrating our community. So,
yeah, I think community is such an important concept. And to draw from another John Hudak quote, community is about communication.
yes.
Right? And that is nowhere stronger and bigger and more prolific than in this medium that we're in now, but in also social media, also in print media, also in networking groups. I mean, there's still a combination of these things that help to tell the story of a city or of an individual to sort of move things forward, which is my next segue is, what do you see the biggest opportunities are for our region? I'll say our region, more than just Tucson. We'll kind of bleed into maybe Cochise County, Santa Cruz County, the surrounding, maybe not the state of Maricopa, but further south.
Right. No, I mean, Tucson is the gateway to southeastern Arizona and southern Arizona. So we're an important opportunity for Cochise County, Santa Cruz County, and whether it's Bisbee or Tombstone or Nogales, Tubac. You know, there's lots of great things that they rely on the Tucson market, and Tucson as being a gateway. The Phoenicians, you know, don't come down here as much. They should. You know the difference between Phoenix and yogurt?
What is that?
Yogurt has culture. So,
oh, mercy!
Tucson has
I like
plenty
that.
of culture.
I like that.
And you know, all of the Arizonans, you know, should be enjoying it, and we celebrate it. So, as far as the issues, I mean, I actually see a lot of good things in the pipeline for Tucson. There are right now 3 new hotels scheduled for downtown, which that's fabulous.
That is fabulous.
A couple of them have been, you know, talked about for a while and postponed, like the Moxie that's going to go on a pad. It'll be just west of, you know, Hotel Congress and Cup Cafe. There's a parking lot and there's a pad. They're just going to build straight up on top of the parking garage. So it's right there.
Nice.
And they've had that plan for a long time. And then there's a vacant lot on Fifth Avenue and Broadway. It's been talked about for a long time. There's a hotel plan there. And then HSL Properties is committed now to renovating and reopening the Arizona Hotel right by the convention center, which is a major, I mean, I can't remember how many rooms it is.
Right, it's big.
500, it's big. And they've struggled for a while because it's an older hotel and it was built with all this immovable concrete and the ceiling heights and the widths were hard to redo. They could have turned it into a Best Western, but that's not a convention quality hotel.
Right.
So they finally have worked it out that they can do it as a Hyatt Regency, which is a convention quality hotel. But all those brands, all those flags have their standards. And to HSL's credit, they've resolved those issues so that they'll be able to fly a good flag on it.
If you were having a conversation with a 25, 30-year-old young professional
Yes.
looking to start a business in Tucson, what advice would you give?
Well, so first, I mean, I do think one of our big challenges as a community is to have enough jobs for a young professional class. And so Phoenix does have those jobs for them, and they're there, but those people aren't as happy there. They would be happier if we had those jobs in Tucson. And so I do think the best way to do it is be an entrepreneur, and you can in Tucson.
That's true.
Because the cost of living isn't that high. There's a very supportive community. There's actually, philanthropic money, angel investors, stuff like that in Tucson to help out with new businesses. Tucson is very welcoming to anybody that wants to get involved. I mean, there's even young professionals like Liz Pocock, who has Startup Tucson and the 10 West Festival that she's created out of her own brain. And now I think it's going to celebrate its 10th anniversary this year. And it's, people compared it to South by Southwest, but they don't want to just be a mini South by. They're
It's its own thing.
Carving out their own path as their own statement. So, I mean, those opportunities are here for young people. And so I would just say, bring your idea, bring your energy. If you're, how should I say, a person of your word, if your words and your actions meet, Tucson's here to support you.
Yeah, those are really good words. If you walk by the U of A during the senior interviews, you walk by and they have a student union, all these little booths and such, and you look to see which organizations are represented there. And those that are, like, for instance, based in Arizona, the majority are up in Phoenix. You have the American Express, you have all these sort of higher end call centers, you have a lot of semiconductor folks as well. And being born in Tucson, from Tucson, and now choosing to live in Tucson, it breaks my heart that we don't have as much of a vibrant community like that. I'm going to ask that question in a different way. Rather than what would you tell a 25 to 30-year-old, what would you tell a corporate decision maker that's looking to build a new 100-person, 200-person enterprise?
Yeah. I mean, so Phoenix is now the 5th largest city in the country. And it has the job opportunities that go along with that. It also has the traffic, clogs and other downsides that go with that growth. And Phoenix is trying to keep up with it. In Tucson, I mean, so I believe Phoenix has grown a lot because of air service. They have a lot of direct air service. But Tucson really, really competes well at one-stop destinations. And I can go into why Tucsonans should always fly out of Tucson, because we have about 1 million enplanements a year that drive to Phoenix to fly out of Phoenix and have a direct flight. We have 12 flights a day on just one airline that go to Phoenix. We have more than that, but I mean, if you do the math, you can go to the airport an hour before your flight leaves. It's a 30-minute flight to Phoenix. You're there quicker than you can be if you drive to Phoenix. And if you drive, there might be an accident. It still chokes down to 2 lanes before you get into, I mean, when it needs to expand north of the Gila River, it's 2 lanes. You could be stuck way south of Phoenix in traffic and miss your flight, or you have to travel way early to factor that in. So I would argue that if the 1 million people a year that fly out of Phoenix now just flew out of Tucson, we would have better air service. Well, I don't have to argue it. I know that. The airlines have told us that. And the airlines know that the demand is here. We just, for whatever reason, we choose to fly out of Phoenix. Yeah. So it's a chicken and an egg. So if we commit to flying out of Tucson, if the Chamber of Commerce had a Fly Tucson First campaign and every employer in Tucson said, I'm going to buy your tickets out of it. Now, the problem is, delayed flights, canceled flights, whatever. And that happens when you don't have a direct fund. But delayed and canceled can also happen on direct flights.
That's very true. I just heard today on the news that Frontier Airlines is now offering nonstop flights from Tucson to Salt Lake City.
Yes.
So that's a new thing. And
I have to look because I love to go skiing. I actually have a little townhouse in Park City.
do you?
And I worked hard to get miles on Delta because Delta has about 5 direct flights into Phoenix or into Salt Lake a day, and then it's just 35 minutes up to
Right.
Park City. But I did not. I need to look at
Yes.
Frontier because I've used up all my Delta points, and now I have to go out of pocket.
Yeah.
And I'd like to support Frontier's
Absolutely.
new flights.
So I'm going to show you a picture of somebody here, and I want you to think about this person here and what you would tell them in this point in time about what's going to happen in the future.
Gosh, where did that even come from?
And we found it somewhere.
Jeez.
So I think you're about 30 years old here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you had I usually use the term a magic telephone. If I gave you a magic phone and you could talk to and tell a 30-year-old John Hudak something or a couple things, what would you say?
No, I mean, I would say keep doing what you're doing. You know, by the time I was 30, I was married and expecting my first child. And we had bought a fixer-upper over in the Spring Dunbar neighborhood, an old historic home. And we were doing the building blocks to create a life. And again, I started with nothing. My family had no money. I put myself through college at Grant Road Lumber. And you showed me that picture. When I see pictures of the first house that my wife, now my ex-wife and I bought, although we were together 30 years, which is pretty good. She was always an introvert. I was always an extrovert. Anyway, but we have great kids and we get along. Better not married than married. But anyway, so the deal was we were able to buy a house for $25,000. Although the plumbing didn't work, we had to do a lot of work on it to even get it to qualify for a normal, loan to put on a mortgage. But we were able to start out with nothing and make something happen. And I still believe Tucson is a great place for people to do that. So, I mean, I relied on the community to help. Actually, so we bought the house before we got married. We had been living together for a while. We decided to get married, buy a house, do a family. For our wedding gifts, our registry was at Grant Road Lumber Company because we needed sacks of cement. We needed doors.
Really?
We needed plywood. We needed stuff to fix up our house. And sure enough, we got them.
Wow.
So
You don't hear that about that much anymore like that.
so that was it.
Remarkable. I'm going to take that same phone. I'm going to punch some different numbers, and we're going to reach John Hudak at 89 years old. What would you ask?
I'm not far from that now.
No, I know exactly how old you are. You're a far ways from that. What would you ask rather than tell? What would you ask that 89-year-old sitting in Park City drinking a glass of wine in the evening there?
Well, I'd probably I probably won't be skiing anymore, so it would have to be summer in Park City. And I will tell you, Park City has the cutest little 4th of July parade and stuff. It's a great place to go for 4th of July. But yeah, I hope I'm still skiing at 89. But I would ask that person what they were most proud of, separate from their kids, and their own accomplishments, separate from their kids. Because you get your kids, they really, if you have kids, you realize from birth that they have their own soul, they have their own destiny, and so we're just blessed with witnessing it and supporting it. So just sort of asking that 89-year-old person about me and my stuff, what would I consider at that age my, best accomplishment, or how I made the most of a difference with the time I've had here.
There are so many things you've done, John. I just couldn't even imagine. I mean, we were going through some history and doing some research, and the number of awards you've won, the number of, I think the big thing that you can't really measure is probably the number of lives you've touched, right? Your time with the Poetry Center, whatever, all these things, you've touched lives. And that's something that can't be measured in clicks or in times, hours read or whatever these metrics are. So that's some impact there. I guess the last thing I'd ask from you is, what do you feel is the most exciting thing that we have to offer as a community of Tucson?
I mean, it's interesting, and this was something that worked for me early on. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, and after high school, a lot of my friends went off to New York and LA and bigger cities. And so many of these places, it was very stratified. Did you grow up in the right part of town? Did you go to the right school? Tucson, because so many of us, you're a native, but even when I moved here in 75, 5 or 10% were natives, right? Mm-hmm. And so most of Tucson has moved here from somewhere else. And first, thanks to the local community for be welcoming and supportive. But second, the fact that everybody had to start over again to some degree. Maybe they moved here for a job, but they start a new neighborhood, new thing, all that other new schools for the kids. They've had to start over. So I think Tucson is open to new people and new ideas in a way that Philadelphia, Boston, some of those might not be as welcoming. They have their own little networks and their own little cliques. And mm-hmm. even the groups that exist here, Southern Arizona Leadership Council, Visit Tucson, Chamber of Commerce, all these people are open to helping support. We have Startup Tucson, like I've referenced before. So, I mean, I think that Tucson is less of a closed community mm-hmm. and more of an open community, and a great place for people to just network and find help, find somebody.
Yeah, and that's why I chose to come back. So I was born here, grew up in Douglas. So when you were moving to Tucson, I was 2 years old. And I was down in Douglas, and then I came back to go to U of A. And then after that, I went and spent a little bit of time in Austin, and then we moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and then we moved to Albuquerque. And I always wanted to find a way to come back. Uh-huh. So I came back in 2009 to basically raise my kids here.
Sure.
At the time, I had all 4 grandparents still in Douglas, and so I chose to come back, and having at least this from 2009 to now, a bit of an arc of how much we've really grown. Downtown, when I went to U of A, was terrible.
Yeah.
It was boarded up buildings, and it was kind of a very seedy place.
Yeah.
And now you go down there and it's thriving.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good things. I just think along those lines that, so you came back to raise your kids. We struggle with our educational opportunities here. I mean, the state is criminal in how they don't fund education, and they're really trying to put a nail in the coffin of public schools. But if you show up and, state your truth, people will listen. Like I said before, if you, not only have an opinion, but mm-hmm. your actions follow your words, that you do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, that you take responsibility for those actions, this community will support you.
Well, thanks for being part of this community, John. From the Pittsburgh kid to now Tucson, one of Tucson's titans. Really appreciate this time and for the words you've been sharing with us. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right. Enjoyed it.